Today on The Young and the Restless, Victoria angrily confronts Victor, Audra and Kyle keep a secret, and Sharon pays Adam a visit. At the ranch, Nikki pleases Victor by telling him she's on board to take over at Newman Media. He assures her she has his complete trust, and he thinks she'll do wonderful things. Nikki realized that she's now as much an enemy of Adam's as he and Nick have been. Victor's interested to hear that she spoke to Audra, who was already aware of the changes thanks to Nate. She tells Victor there's something he needs to know and he won't like it. Audra and Kyle have been seeing each other romantically. Victor groans and asks if Summer knows. Nikki says she's the one who told her. Victor snarks that Kyle's an abbot and Summer's better off without him. He's glad to hear that Nikki put her on notice. She's an asset, but not if she upsets their granddaughter. Sharon arrives at Adam's place where he invites her to tell him he got what he deserved. Sharon is there because she's concerned for him. Adam can't understand why. Sharon knows how devastated he must be that Victor cut him out. Adam has no one to blame but himself. He asks Sharon if she's not there to yell at him. Then, what are you doing? Sharon wanted to make sure he was okay. His father's rejection sends him into a dark place. Adam tells her she can't save him, so why keep trying? Sharon shrugs. She's an eternal optimist. They go over what happened, and Adam says he blew it as usual and betrayed her trust. He has lost everything. Sharon says there's still time, maybe he can turn things around. Adam asks, what if I can't get on the right track? The messed up track may be his destiny. Sharon sniffs that Nick was right when he said Adam needs to stop with the martyr syndrome. Adam concedes he's his own worst enemy and would appreciate her help more than she knows. He realizes he needs to change. Sharon wonders what change would look like for Adam. He needs to stop looking at his place in the family company as a right and something he should embrace. He'd even be willing to start at a lower level and work his way up. Sharon's skeptical. She tells Adam that his problem is that deep down he doesn't really know what he wants. It's why he always goes after the wrong thing. Nick walks into Victoria's office, welcomes her back, and asks how she made out in the. She says she hit a snag, but in the end she prevailed. She's learned from Nate that Victor restructured the company without confiding in her, and is furious. Victoria's gearing up to confront him but wants Nick's take first. Nick's sure Nate filled her in, his job's secure, which he's sure comes as a relief to her. He notes that he is coming back and will be working right between her and Nate. He's sure she hates that part the most. Victoria and Nick bicker about why she let him go. Victoria complains about their father shuffling the deck yet again. She wonders if he's become unstable. Nick says he's just flexing his power. Their mother is taking time to process. Victoria wonders if she does take over as CEO, where that leaves Audra. Nick says she'd stay on as COO. Victoria feels 2 steps behind and says Victor will soon know how angry she is. Victoria asks if Nick will agree to come back there or if he is considering leaving the family business again. Nick needs some time. Victoria hopes he'll come back there. Nick still believes Nate cannot be trusted. At the GTAC, Audra tells Kyle her meeting with Nikki was interesting. She's sure she'll accept the CEO role, which means she'll be demoted. Kyle wonders if he's out of a job. Audra assures him she'll do everything she can to keep him around. She sees him as an ally and an asset. Audra admits Nikki didn't mention him in regard to work, but she knows about them and demanded that Audra stop seeing him or lose her job. Kyle feels this is none of Nikki's business. Audra counters it kind of is, and asks if he can really blame her for trying to protect her granddaughter. She likes having Kyle around, and he likes being around, but it might make things easier for Audra if he were to step away. Audra wants him to stay on at Newman even if it's in a demoted role. Nikki only needs to think they've put an end to their dalliance. Do you think we can pull off a secret affair? Audra asks. Kyle warns Audra she has a lot to lose. Audra says, not if Nikki never knows. She questions why Nikki gets to decide who they can and cannot be with. They'll have to be very discreet. Kyle says, absolutely. They banter about playing with fire, which sounds pretty exciting. Kyle says there's one more concern. Even if they convince Nikki they've stopped seeing each other, there's no guarantee she'll want to keep him at the company. Audra coos, let me handle that. Victoria stalks into the ranch to confront her parents about the changes. Nikki hugs her and leaves the 2 of them to figure this out. Victoria asks Victor how he could do this without consulting her. He made extensive leadership changes without allowing her to weigh in on them. Victor defends putting Nikki in charge at Newman Media and telling Adam to get lost. Victoria insists she should have had a say in it. Victor reminds her he owns the company and makes whatever decisions he wants to make. At Crimson Lights, Nick updates Sally on the latest moves by Victor. Sally's stunned to hear that Nikki will be in charge of Newman Media and Nick's taking her job as co-CEO. Nick says it all happened with Vic out of town and she's furious. Sally asks if Nick will take the job and what happened to Adam. Nick says he's out completely. Sally feels bad at the rejection on the heels of losing Ava. Nick says he brought it all on himself. Nick says Adam tried to grab power and this time Victor had enough. There will be consequences finally. He's happy for his mom. Sally asks about Nick's hesitations. He cites his dad's never-ending mind games as a deterrent. Swerving, Nick asks about her plans for her new company. Sally was nervous but remembered how fabulous her ideas were. Nick vows to be hands-off as an investor. They agree. Boundaries. Sally thinks he owes it to himself to figure out what he wants in his life. It may not be working alongside Victoria because it's what his father wants. At Adam's place, he tells Sharon that he knows what he wants. They've just been taken away from him. Hope and Cliff are gone. Connor's gone. I lost you. I lost my daughter and Sally's gone. Even you have to admit that's a lot. Sharon asks if he really loved Sally. Adam says it doesn't matter, she's out of his life. He asks, "What do you say? Will you help me, Sharon?" Adam wants Sharon to convince Nick he's sincere, but she feels it's not her place to mediate between him and his family. He has to figure out what he really wants and then maybe he'll stop getting in his own way. Adam will journal on it and make a vision board. Sharon makes a face and gives him a thumbs up. Adam asks if Sharon will fight Victor. Sharon's not going to back down and she has a lot of plans. Adam grins but warns she's dealing with Victor. Sharon refuses to fail. Audra enters her suite and calls Nikki to let her know she handled the matter they discussed, hopefully to her satisfaction, but she'd like to discuss Kyle's professional status with her. Nikki says she just arrived at the club and asks if Audra's free. Audra answers the door to Kyle and asks Nikki to give her half an hour. After disconnecting, she and Kyle make out. After sex, Audra and Kyle gush about how great it was and then she says she has to go since Nikki's waiting downstairs. They love how high the stakes are and Kyle's still nervous about sneaking around, but it is kind of exciting. Audra thinks their relationship will be better than ever now. At the ranch, Victoria is relieved that Victor finally handled Adam appropriately, but she's worried he'll retaliate. Victor's not concerned. Victoria wishes she could have seen his face, and Victor says it was one of the hardest things he's done. Victoria tells him he did the right thing and says Adam doesn't deserve his last name. At Crimson Lights, Nick goes on to Sally about not trusting Mate. If he goes back to work, he could keep an eye on him, but he's not about the backstabbing and power grabs. This is the kind of dynamic that sent him running from the company in the past. Sally thinks maybe walking away is the right thing. Follow your instincts, not what your father commands. Audra meets Nikki in the GCAC dining room. Nikki asks, "So, Kyle Abbott, it's over." Audra says she heard her loud and clear that their personal relationship won't be tolerated, but she'd like to keep him on at Newman Media. Nikki is willing to keep him on given that Summer played a role in their breakup, but she'd like to talk to him first. She clarifies that she has decided to take over at Newman Media. Audra is looking forward to learning everything she can from her. Nikki hopes they will have a good working relationship, as long as there are no underhanded moves in the future regarding anything. Audra grimaces as Kyle sneaks out of the club. At the ranch, Victor hates that Victoria and Adam still have such a bitter relationship, but he hopes she'll welcome Nick with open arms. Victoria has no idea what he's planning to do. At Crimson Lights, Nick tells Sally he appreciates her input and love her fire, especially when she's standing up for him. She will have his back and urges him to choose for himself. Nick knows one thing: you are absolutely the right path for me. They kiss. At Adam's place, he thanks Sharon for coming by and tells her she's a good friend. She knows. She's not sure she can convince Nick he's changed, however, he'll have to do it himself. She urges him to reach out to his brother, but Adam's skeptical. Sharon will talk to Nick just to take his temperature, but warns this better not be another trick. Adam asks her to have a little faith. With that she leaves. Once alone, Adam lets out a sly grin.